All right, hello, Idiots on Parade, the Too Ugly for TV podcast. We mock the news so you don't have to. Hello, Jake.
How's it going?
All is well here. That is Jake Vevra, stand-up comedian in New York City. I am Nathan Timmel, stand-up comedian in Iowa City. Jumping in quick, you asked me if I saw a movie on Netflix. I canceled Netflix because we realized we weren't using it all that often. But last week, I asked you to watch a movie. Did you watch Boiling Point?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
I am not sure what I thought of that film. I liked it, but I also, there was part of me that didn't, because the story was so simplistic. It was sort of cliche, the addict that has to hit rock bottom. We've seen it a million times, but the acting was fantastic. I mean, they looked like real people. It wasn't like most Hollywood movies where I mean, this was an immersive, you felt you were there, you felt everything was real. I loved the acting. I loved the direction, the cinema. It is a one-take movie.
Yep.
I was impressed with everything technical. I just wish the story had been a little deeper than, addict hits rock bottom, because we've seen that a million times.
Yeah, but it's also like, I think if you're going to do a one-take thing, it has to be somewhat improvisational. It's too early for me to say that. Improvisational. And they kind of got it like, it can't be too fucking complicated,
Yeah,
if you're going to do that kind of thing. They just sort of have to be like, hey, here's your lines, hit them, kind of like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Most of the scenes are
I would like to know how much of it was written out and how much was, all right, here's the situation, like if they're whispering to the actors on the side, because since it's one take, if you have a wait, okay, you're going to approach the bar. Remember, your table's a pain in the ass. This is going to, and then you sort of cue them off camera, like, okay, 5 seconds, 4, 3. I mean, it technically, I absolutely recommend it to everyone.
I loved it. Yeah, it was cool to watch. It was the whole thing was done in one shot. They're just panning to different areas of the restaurant and following people in the alley and stuff like that. And it was great.
And what was nice about that is, you got people in shadows. You had takes where you walk through a dark area and you couldn't really tell what was going. It wasn't like in a Hollywood movie, everything is lit perfectly. If there's going to be a shadow, they want that shadow to be there. With this, it had to be all natural lighting, because you can't have cam lights all over the place. It looked, I mean, they shot it in an actual, I don't know if it's a restaurant, but set to be a restaurant. It wasn't a sound stage where they could move walls, and I mean, it was practical location, and just one of those films that makes you pissed when you see something win Best Picture that's not really good, but it sends the right message, so everybody gets behind it. Whereas this was raw and captivating, and it disappeared and nobody saw it, but it was great.
I liked it. I'd never heard of it until you recommended it. It was great.
Yeah. What did you recommend to me that I'm not going to be able to watch? I am going to get Netflix when they do Stranger Things and Cobra Kai final seasons, when they're both on the platform. I'll get it for a month, binge the shit out of it, and cancel it again.
Fair enough. But when we
just weren't watching it enough. We realized we're shitting away $15 a month for something we never use.
Sure. Well, and there's so many different platforms now. Like you kind of gotta play a bit of Squid Game, and just like, there's some stuff I watch on here, but it's got to go.
Yeah.
No, this is The Hunt for Veerapan. It's fucking great, dude. It's a 4-part like docu-series about a guy called Veerapan in India, who started off like kind of a gang leader in the mountains. Like southern India is like really mountainous and covered in forest and stuff. And he was out there poaching elephants with this gang of his. And then the forest officers, basically like their version of like the wildlife police, tried to go after him, and he just started killing the wildlife police, right?
Ooh.
And then they were like, oh, we got to get the actual police involved. This guy's not fucking around. Then he starts killing the actual police. Then he starts killing, like, the police were basically putting these guys in charge of like small armies of cops. Like they call themselves like police, but like, oh no, they're in like jungle fatigues with like ARs and shit,
kind of like the riot police here.
Yeah. It's not like riot police. It's like no. They're in. This is like a small army that's going after this guy, and he starts taking out the heads of these, and it's fucking great. Like he basically goes to war with the entire Indian government it was a whole thing, man. But it lasted a long time, but he was just it's such deep like forest, jungle, whatever that no one could just find this guy.
Damn. All right. Well, when I do my month, I'll have to get it. But it's funny. We because I have two kids, we kept Disney Plus, and I don't know if you saw, they're jacking up their prices right now. They're going to shoot them up $3 a month over what it was. Have you been following Disney at all lately?
Not really. Look, I turn it on when I'm hungover and I need my kid to just sit in the jumper and watch
No,
Disney while
no,
I
not
sleep.
Disney Plus, just Disney in general. Have you been following it?
Oh, I know they've been going to war with DeSantis. Is that still going on?
It is, but that's so here's what I'm talking about, which I think is funny. All right. Let's roll back the clock 4 or 5 years. Netflix is the biggest thing in the world, and everybody says, ooh, Netflix is making billions of dollars. We need a streaming service. So Disney, Paramount, Peacock, everybody comes out with it. Everybody comes out with a streaming service. Some of them have been around for a little longer, but you get my point. And suddenly they all think we need content. And here's where it gets stupid. Disney, who has a catalog of what, 5 decades, 60 years worth of catalog.
Yeah,
For
they made a
some
few movies when I
reason,
was growing up. I remember that.
yeah. So, but for some reason, they say we have 60 years of product. You know what we should do? We should start sinking hundreds of millions of dollars into new content that nobody wants. And suddenly their streaming service is losing billions of dollars. They're laying tons of people off. They're going through, and they're getting high-end executives. People like, why do you make $150,000 a year? Your position's redundant. You're laid off. But now
Right.
they're jacking up the price on their streaming platform when literally all they had to do was say, yeah, we're Disney. We got 60 years worth of content. Here's a decent price. Just watch everything you want to watch and not churn out a whole ton of new shit that no one is interested in.
Yeah, honestly, I have Disney Plus. I put it on almost daily. Now, granted, I put it on in the most passive way possible. Again, I'm hungover. Eeny, meeny, miny. The kid can watch this because he's 10 months and doesn't know. I could put fucking Caligula on, and it wouldn't make a difference between that and 101 Dalmatians. But society says don't put Caligula on. Put 101 Dalmatians. So I go with that. I go back to sleep. That said, until you told me there was like a bunch of new content on there, I had no idea, except for I know there's like new Star Wars shit, right? Does that count the Star Wars shit?
Well, what's funny is, so again, almost in repetition of what I just said, Jon Favreau, the guy that did Iron Man and Swingers back in the day, well, he didn't direct it, but he created a show called The Mandalorian. And when
That did good.
well, that's what I'm saying. The new Disney films all pretty much suck. They were putting out shit like Solo, which was watchable, but nobody wanted a Han Solo origin story, so it bombed.
It wasn't great. I saw
Yeah,
that one.
it was, it like when you watch it, you're like, okay, this isn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but the instant it's over, you're like, I'm never gonna watch it again. I just completely forget it exists.
Most of the new Star Wars shit is like hit or miss at best. Mandalorian was pretty good though.
Well, so what happened was Mandalorian season 1 does well, and then Disney announced here are 12 new Star Wars shows that are coming out because they did that thing like, music. Like in the 80s when hair metal was big, every hair metal band got signed. Or after Nirvana broke, suddenly every Seattle band got signed. It's the same thing. Here's one hit show. We're just going to make every show about Star Wars with obviously diminishing returns. And again, spending hundreds of millions of dollars for shit no one wants except for, and I will say this, I will scream this from the highest mountaintop. Andor is a fantastic show.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
It is by and far the best Star Wars show, and here's why.
It's better than Mandalorian?
Better, 1,000 times better.
Wow.
They took Tony Gilroy, the guy that made Rogue One and one of my favorite movies of all time, Michael Clayton, and he created a Star Wars show that is not Star Wars. It doesn't have to be Star Wars. So what he did is, like, you take an original property and you sort of put it in the Star Wars world so they can say like, oh, Ben Kenobi in passing, but you don't have to know anything about Star Wars. And so it's world building in a way that isn't meddling, where it's okay, now because this show has this going on,
that's cool,
we need this one, let's do a Luke Skywalker cameo. It's its own show, and it is, I cannot stress enough, one of the best things on television. It's
I like that.
fantastic.
I like that.
Andor.
Do like a Tarantino movie, but in Star Wars land. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're just flying through space. Like you know what they call a Big Mac in Tatooine? A Royale with cheese.
That's it exactly. They
That
reference
rocks.
the Star Wars world, but it is not beholden to it, and it's absolutely fantastic.
That's awesome, man.
All right. Let's jump into some news. You mentioned Disney, DeSantis.
I think, wait, before we do news, I
Sure.
want to jump back. Here's what I think Disney should do. If they're going to do a new Star Wars thing, do it for the ultimate like fanboys, you know, who hated episode 1. You have just a whole torture porn movie of Jar Jar Binks. Like he gets captured by somebody. You know what I mean? Like that crazy guy with the no, it can't be the guy with a two-sided one because he was in that same one.
Wait. Cross worlds. Find out who has the intellectual property that owns Saw, and you do a Star Wars Saw crossover.
Yes.
So now
I was
Jigsaw.
thinking the passion of Jar Jar Binks, right? He's just fucking whipped and he's getting like prodded with lightsabers up his ass, you know, for like an hour and a half.
Did you ever read?
Oh, Mr. Head getting whipped. Oh, don't stick the lightsaber there. Oh, you know, it'll be a whole fucking thing.
Did you read the or hear the story of the actor who played Jar Jar Binks?
No, did he have to kill himself like that guy that caught the foul ball at the Cubs game?
Uh,
Or the home run
Close.
ball at the Cubs
Yeah.
game?
He talked about being suicidal. It's a really passionate and fascinating. I recommend reading it.
I hope that was his real voice. This was so sad after playing Jar Jar Binks. A lot of people said, "Why did you make a voice like that to play the character?" And I said, I just use my regular voice and talk like this. It was a skateboarding accident when I was a kid. I hit my larynx and now I talks like this. I talk like a blue blackface guy."
Well, he said that filming, everybody loved the character. Everybody was laughing on set. They thought it was going to be this big hit, and the backlash sent him into a huge depression. It's a fascinating story.
Be the next Barney the dinosaur. Fuck.
Oh, maybe he's doing meditative sex therapy like Barney the dinosaur.
You like that? You like when I use 3 fingers instead?
Either way, I recommend checking out his story because he went through a lot. It's fast because you make these jokes and there's someone behind the thing. But what's funny is he could have remained anonymous. I think, but it did upend his career because
yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't he in a fucking puppet costume the whole time? How's it?
Yeah, but that's the fucked up thing about
is?
Hollywood is even though he could have been like, oh well, thank God my face isn't attached to it. In the inner circles, it's he was Jar Jar. We can't hire him. Even though nobody can name him, like he could have remained anonymous, but nobody would hire him because he was attached to a character everyone hated.
That's rough, man.
It is. It's fucked up. All right.
It's like, well, especially with a character that cartoony. It's like, how are you gonna like not get booked? Because they're like, well, I just didn't like you as Jar Jar Binks. It's not like, oh, I didn't like you as G.I. Joe, or people hated you as I don't know, in a Scorsese movie or something. But
Yeah.
it's like, dude, it's so. I didn't write the fucking part. Like, dude, they said put the blue mask on and go like, and so I did. I mean, what do you? This is like hating somebody for being on a fucking kid show and going like it was too cartoony. I know it was for 8-year-olds. Like, fucking leave me alone. I'm auditioning to be a hitman right now. I'm not going to do the same voice. Like, it's not.
I was just going to say what you just said.
The money or you're going to die. Like,
That's
just,
Cookie
it's
Monster.
What's up?
You just did Cookie Monster.
Yeah, so did Jar Jar. He did a pansexual Cookie Monster. That I can't believe they're hating on that guy in real life for that. He didn't write the fucking part.
Yeah.
Hate on Lucas.
I absolutely do. If I'm not going to break it down, but if you think about it, I don't understand why Star Wars is so legendary. I don't, because episode 4, great, everybody loved it. Empire Strikes Back, holy shit, even better. Return of the Jedi, hit and miss. Had some great moments, but was a little too cutesy with the Ewoks. And then after that, the prequels, all 3 of them, unwatchable bad. Then Rogue One was great. Episode 7 was nostalgic, but 8 and 9 were. You have more bad Star Wars content than you have good at this point.
Oh,
So
for sure. It's just it but the bad didn't count for a while because for decades you only had this iconic
yeah,
trilogy, and I mean that spawned the term trilogy. You know what I
it
mean? Like
did,
that
but
was
it's
the
so far in the past. The bad should have buried it by now.
nah, it was too much of a cultural thing, man. It was you had the toys, you had everything. Uh, I it's gonna be tough. I think if I'm showing my son Star Wars, I'm gonna have to whitewash the Star Wars universe like Alabama does to the 1700s in history books. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna.
You mean like
There's just
Florida's currently doing?
that's right. There's just some Star Wars movie don't get talked about in this here household.
See, two things. One, when you talk about action figures, when you said it spawned that, they still release action figures for the new movies, and it's funny because nobody buys them anymore. So for some reason, they still put out an action figure, and a week later, you see it on clearance for $1, and it's just funny because again, law of diminishing returns. They're still trying to capture that magic where if you have an original Millennium Falcon from 1977 in a box that's worth $100,000, so now they put out, hey, you see that guy in the background that was walking across set carrying a couple bags? Isaac Oscar was talking on the phone. Yeah, we got an action figure for him, and nobody buys any of the shit. But second thought, I'm not introducing my kids to any Star Wars because they're all bad now. If Disney had any
You just
fucking
said Andor's good.
well, no, I mean the movies, just the movies.
Yeah, the
If
movies
Disney had
become
any
shitty.
balls, they would re-release the original trilogy like it was in the theater because Lucas shit canned those when he started doing the first re-releases where he upgraded them and Han shot first and here's an extra big explosion. South Park made fun of them beautifully when the South Park did an episode on upgrading and updating shit that doesn't need updated. So as far as I'm concerned, if you watch episode 4, A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back on Disney Plus, you're not seeing the good version we saw as kids. You're seeing the Lucas remix, and he added shit that doesn't need to be there. So as far as I'm concerned, all the Star Wars films are no bueno,
I don't
except for
think the
Rogue
stuff
One.
he added completely destroyed the whole movie, though.
Well,
I
he
mean,
fucked it up. It's
they're annoying. You kind of roll your eyes when you see it, but I don't
it
think
takes
was,
away from the magic.
yeah, I mean it. I don't know that if I was watching it for the first time, I would necessarily be like, no, this sucks because see, look at Jabba the Hutt's in here for like 20 seconds. Like you know what I mean? Like
I
I
hear
think
what you're saying. I'm offended, so I'm gonna withhold.
I get it.
That's
That was a good
me
episode.
being a
That was the one
cunt.
where he kept raping Indiana Jones. It was that
Yeah,
they kept raping
yeah,
Indiana. That
and
was
they
good.
even do a commercial where they say, "Hey kids, we're re-releasing the first episode of South Park. We always wanted to have cool special effects and stuff." I mean,
Oh,
it's
that's right. Yeah,
fucking
yeah. Uh-huh.
hilarious.
No, that's good.
All right, let's bang out some news before we run out of time. Last week we started hinting at this. I sent you the article. Nothing came of it. Here's the best thing is if we had talked about it, maybe it's still out there somewhere. But when was this article dated? All the way back July 21st. So we're going back several weeks. Ron DeSantis was thinking about filing for an investigation against Anheuser-Busch because of the Bud Light debacle. He said stock holders are suffering because of moves Budweiser made. And we sort of hinted at it last week. It's just funny to me that Budweiser says, hey, this guy has 10 million followers, Dylan Mulvaney. Let's give him some Bud Light, and hopefully some of his 10 million followers
It's
will
her,
drink
you
Bud Light.
monster.
What's that?
It's her, you monster.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Well, Bud Light. I'm doing the non-woke Bud Light Corporation. I'm not doing me getting it wrong. I'm doing Bud Light getting it wrong. Don't cancel me. Cancel Bud Light. Oh wait, too late. They already did. Anyway, so conservatives, instead of going, as we have said a million times on this podcast, instead of saying, hey, you know what? Bud Light just wants to sell beer to everybody. All right. They create a backlash. They start screaming and throwing a temper tantrum and going, no, Bud Light can't sell to trans people. The stock drops. And now conservative Ron DeSantis is saying, hey, you caused the stock to go down. We should investigate you and maybe stand up for shareholder rights. It's the most fucked up backwards logic I have ever seen. Maybe if
Yeah,
you assholes hadn't thrown a temper tantrum and just left well enough alone, your stock shares would still be worth what they were worth before.
right. Or I like the idea of them doing the investigation, and the investigation comes back like, sir, after spending millions of taxpayer dollars, we have discovered that in fact, when you go woke, you do go broke. However, the same investigation discovered our state is now going broke because of fighting woke and dumping money into shit like this. And Disney's leaving. And so you go broke when you go woke, but you also go broke when you fight woke. That is how dangerous woke is. We
Woke is
fucked
the
up
most
our whole
dangerous
state
thing. I
because
thought
of
you were
this
going to say,
culture
uh,
war nonsense.
I thought you were going to say, we have done an investigation, and here is why the reason Bud stock dropped. And then they just hold up a mirror to DeSantis. Yeah, you did all this complaining, and people boycotted it. If you had just shut the fuck up, everyone would have gone on with their lives. Every single person would have just said, ah, they gave Bud to that trans person. Not my thing. Still just drinking beer. That's all you had to do. Literally, all you had to do was ignore it.
Sure. I mean, nobody really would. I mean, it wasn't even an official ad campaign. It was
Yeah.
just on her TikTok, which means to even know about this advertisement, you would have already had to have been following a trans woman on TikTok. So it's like, what, dude? It's not staying further away from all of the good conservative blah 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 that you hold sacred. So I don't see what the big deal is, for one, and then also the investigation part is like, anytime this is mentioned in an article, they do a quick little a back brief about what the hell happened. I mean, it's pretty much A to B to C. I mean, it's just pretty simple. It's like they gave a can of Bud Light with her face on it to her, and conservatives got mad. They quit buying the beer, and the fucking price went down, man. I mean, I just did your study for free, dude. Like, what do you just read one of those little one paragraphs in literally any article that mentions that, and that's your fucking study. They already did it for you.
Exactly. But I want to go back to what you said. It's funny that it's like the old conservative that's anti-gay that gets caught doing a triple tap in a men's room in a Minneapolis airport or on the massage table. Yeah, this it reminds me of any, like the first one, Justine Sacco. Justine Sacco was the woman on Twitter who got on an airplane and said, going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. And it was on her private Twitter that was friends only, and one of her friends got it out into the public, and then by the
Fucking
time she
snake in the
landed, everybody was
grass.
like, what's that?
Fucking snake in the grass.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. Dylan Mulvaney has people that like Dylan Mulvaney. I'm agnostic. I didn't know who she was before. I don't follow her now. She's just doing her thing. Good for her. So, like you said, what were you, dear conservatives, doing scoping her out, other than to either A, be outraged, or B, masturbate secretly because you are one of those conservatives that has closet issues, that you scream loudly about the things you hate, but you don't really hate them.
Maybe the first guy that found it. For the most part, I think they just got told about it by other people, and they just assumed it was like everywhere, which it wasn't.
Yeah.
But it's a weird thing they're doing where they're like, we don't want this chick to be famous. Like, I would literally have no idea who this was if you weren't screaming about her. So
Yeah.
now she's going to be getting fucking booked and shit that you are going to see. And your dear precious kids that you pretend to want to protect, they're going to see it too. When really, this fucking bullshit has nothing to do with kids with their anti-trans stuff. They go, oh, we just don't want it, kids learning about it at school and stuff. It's like, well, okay, now they're advertising with a product that is literally legally just for adults, and you got a problem with that. So it's your problem. It's got nothing to do with the kids. It's just an anti-trans thing.
Yeah. I'm going through the article really quick, and it's funny because the whole reason he's getting involved is Florida state investments have stock worth about 50 million in InBev, and so that's his whole thing is The company hurt its stock price, he said, by associating with, quote, radical social
Oh, I
ideologies.
missed that part. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is him fucking up his own stock price.
Yep. That's the whole thing is you
Yep.
shoot yourself in the foot and say, ow. It's you're
Wait,
military. It's you
why
shoot
does
yourself in the
Florida
foot
have
and
a
demand
bunch
a
of
Purple
money in
Heart.
fucking beer? Like that's ridiculous anyway, right?
Well, we're talking about the same DeSantis that lost, was it 330 million? I'm speaking out my ass. In Russian investments when they invaded Ukraine. It was discovered that he lost 330 million or 300 million in state pensions when because they had it invested in Russian assets.
He's investing state pensions in fucking Russia in
He
rubles.
had at the
The
time.
fuck, dude? This guy's just not good with money. This is what's gonna fuck him up in the general election. It's like the little social causes and things like that. The social wars that does really good for like the for
Primaries.
just sort of yeah, Republican primaries, like deep red states. They like that kind of thing. You're owning the libs and all that. But it's like once you start getting the purple states, they're like, wait a minute, you spent how much money to fucking investigating a story that was.
You just cut out. Oh yeah, you froze. Jake is completely
Because
frozen.
you're oh, frozen. There we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, and losing millions of dollars, billions possibly due to the Disney thing, that doesn't look good because a lot of just kind of like old school, just sort of mainstream conservatives. They're big on like gas prices and the economy, jobs and shit like that, and they don't want you like they don't necessarily love the transgender movement, like whatever, but they don't hate it enough to fuck the economy up. And that's the difference between them and the people you're currently pitching to in the primary. They would hate it if you did the exact opposite thing with Disney. If you were driving Disney out because Disney said, I don't know, we're not covering like gender affirming care with our health care or something like that, and you were like a liberal governor and you fucking went hard at them, and they're like, you know what, fuck you, we're moving to Texas. Those same conservatives would be like, hey, why are you losing a multi-billion-dollar thing because of the trans issue? They don't really care what side of the fence you come down on it. Just don't lose the fucking multi-billion-dollar company to your state. That's kind of what where a lot of the people that you're going to be going toward in purple states, that's kind of where their heads are at with that. And it looks petty.
Well, I'll tell you this. I got two things. One, I pulled it up. I was off by 30 million. It is 300 million. And the real shit hit the fan is after Russia invaded Ukraine and they lost all the money, he doubled down and said, we're going to, instead of pulling out, he said, we're just going to remain, we're going to hold on to these investments and, quote, hope that Russia rebounds. So I don't know. That's the last article. That's the first one I clicked on. Maybe they eventually pulled it out, but yeah. So
right
as it tanked, they held on. But two, to
what would this man be doing to your gas prices in a war over energy and resources? What the fuck would he be doing if he was in charge of the goddamn country?
Exactly. But to your second point, I have I guess it would be called a very pro-trans joke in my set. It's a story about a trans book that my kids read that we have in our house. And I have done that in the deepest, reddest rural parts of this country. And they all laugh and they all get it, even though it's at the expense of bigotry. They don't shut down and go, boo, stop talking about trans, because I'm making it funny. The funny of the pro trans is better than whatever misgivings they may have, because they think about their day-to-day lives. Sure, if it was a single item vote, I'm sure they would all say, you know what, trans, I don't like trans, I'm voting against trans. But overall, they don't give a fuck. So when their own bigotry is mocked,
right,
they laugh because they get it. They don't care. It's not the hill they die on. I can go into deep
and
red.
That's exactly the point I was making.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not really pro or anti-trans for the most part.
Yeah,
I think most conservatives in this country, it's just a non-issue for them. They're just kind of like, Why is this in the news so much? I've never even met a trans person. Who gives a fuck? You know, like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm pro-trans. Okay, fine. I'm anti-trans. Fuck it, whatever. What are you gonna do for gas prices? And then if you start driving businesses out of your state because you're anti-trans, fighting the woke Ron DeSantis, they're gonna be like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's a little weird. I wouldn't want my kids dressing like that, but like, why did you lose fucking like billions of dollars for your state because of it? It's not worth that.
Exactly. All right, let's finish out with. It's funny, we could do just two topics for months, and that's kind of what we're doing. Hunter Biden. The articles I sent you are
He's come
hilarious.
out as trans, and he now has
Wouldn't that be the best? And then he
an
got Bud
advertising
Light
deal
put
with
Hunter
Coors.
Biden
No,
trans on a.
he's getting another one. I think trans people are going to take over the beer markets one at a time.
They
That's the
should.
fucking move. That's the move.
He gets
Hunter
Coors
Biden,
Light.
come out as trans, and then sign a deal with Pabst Blue Ribbon. That'll really piss him off.
No, because hipsters drink Pabst Blue Ribbon. They be all about it with their
They
man
do, but so
buns
do people in rural states. So it could be another fun one, I think.
could be. All right. So much going on with Hunter Biden. First of all, they apparently, I think there's so much that's hilarious. So where is the guy's name? I had it in front of me. David Weiss has been investigating Hunter Biden since forever. He is a Republican, and for months the Republicans have been saying a special prosecutor should be assigned to investigate Hunter Biden. I have this one over here. Ted Cruz was one of 34 Republican senators to sign a letter requesting Weiss receive, quote, the full protections and authorities of a special counsel. They got their wish. Merrick Garland appointed David Weiss as a special counsel to continue investigating Hunter Biden, only now not just as an investigator, but a special counsel investigator. And all the Republicans are saying, oh, he's not qualified. Boo. Why would you assign him? You're just trying to cover shit up. And you know why they're doing it? One of their members because he's uncovering facts, and one of the facts is a smoking, clear-cut, undeniable proof of the president's involvement with Hunter Biden's dealings has not been found. He went on TV and said that, and then quickly had to like backpedal and say, oh, but we know that the Bidens are receiving money. We just don't have proof. So the guy that has been investigating that ultimately said we should charge him with these misdemeanors for the gun because there's not much else. They wanted him put in charge. He got put in charge. Now they're all backpedaling because it's just noise. It's all noise. And the dumbest of the dumb are buying into it and believing it.
Right. You either uncover the stuff that I want you to uncover during your investigation, or you're clearly covering it up because it has to be there.
Yeah, that's literally all. It's Benghazi, where Hillary Clinton testifies for what, 12 hours or something, and at the end, nothing. It was a really bad event. Shit hit the fan. It's unfortunate. It's tragic. It's shitty, but it wasn't a conspiracy. It wasn't like, hey, just leave them out there to die. Or I don't even know what the Benghazi kerfuffle was. Why Republicans were angry. Did they say?
Yeah, they were claiming that she did not have a fast enough response time.
Yeah.
She got those guys killed. She left them there without enough troops or whatever. They weren't asking the big question with that I thought you should be asking. And this is why. Okay, so you know how they kept calling it the Benghazi thing and not the Libya thing. Well, that's interesting, right? Because before this, I mean, most people couldn't have named the city Benghazi. I mean, they could maybe do Libya, but even then, I doubt a lot of Americans could point to it on a map. They'd tell you it's somewhere in Africa, but they wouldn't, But interesting. Why do you think they called it Benghazi and not the Libya thing? We were doing it to the entire country. It wasn't just we helped take out the mayor of Benghazi. No. We took out Gaddafi, the leader of the country. Why not call it the Libya thing? Oh, that's because if you're raising a big stink about what happened in Libya, people might be asking, oh yeah, why did we overthrow that guy in Libya? He was not a war man by any means, but how's Libya doing now? Oh, not so good? the whole country's on fire and it's now like a stronghold for ISIS because it's basically a failed state that has happened because we took out a guy with absolutely no fucking plan whatsoever of what was going to happen, did not look into the people that we were backing, or worse, did realize they were fucked up and then just didn't do a whole lot of news coverage on who they were, just called them the rebels. And it's like, oh, okay, the resistance. Oh, really? Is it led by Johnny Resistance the Third, the grandson of the great original Johnny Resistance? Oh no, it's just a fucking blanketed name you've given. No, they probably have a name. It's probably Al Shabbat, some shit like that. Just fucking, what's the name of these people? Oh, you either don't know or worse, you don't want to say. So let's not call it Libya. Let's call it Benghazi, because we don't want anybody looking at why we were actually there.
Well, and I don't have anything to add to or disagree with there. But going back to what you said up front, the whole thing was like, oh, she left him out there to die. I read the book, 13 Hours. I didn't see the movie, but the book written by the guys on the ground, and they talked about response times. It's not that they were left out there. It was like, who could get to them?
Well, right. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, it was just them and they're too far away from the rest of the forces. So it's like,
yeah,
it's almost like the implication then is, well, why didn't we just occupy the entire country like we did Iraq for, a decade? It's just, there's not a whole lot. It's either we do that and therefore we have enough troops to get there because we now have an occupying force in Libya, or we don't go in at all. Well, we can't do that because this has to do with a lot of the weapons manufacturers and stuff like that, the people that actually kind of run the people that are in Congress and all that. So we can't draw any attention to that. We just got to call it Benghazi. Just think about what happened in that one city on that one day. Don't think about anything else geopolitical when it comes to this fucking thing. Think micro with Benghazi and not macro with Libya.
Yeah, well fucking put. I mean, the only option, and I never heard anyone say this because it's absurd, the only option they could have done is, hey, where's the closest ship? Can we just launch a bunch of Tomahawks surrounding, like, okay, here's the embassy, just hit everything surrounding the embassy. Yeah, it's in the middle of a city. You can't, they were fucked. And they held out the best they could. They did a great fucking job. It's just a tragic, shitty situation that Republicans use to finger point and distract, which is what they always do. All right, we are absolutely out of time. Jake can be found at Jake Vevra on all social media platforms.
Before we do that, even then with the Hunter Biden thing, they're going all into this like, oh, it's corruption. He was bribed. Joe Biden was bribed through him. Like I said before, he's the Fredo with the family. That's why they sent him there, is to get him out of there. So he's going to intentionally not have that many ties to him. Also, it's like, well, hey, if we're going to go into this situation, what the hell are we doing with these energy companies in Ukraine? Like why do we have such ties to them? That should be the fucking questions. It's not like, well, who was the son of whoever the fuck was over there? It's like, hey, no, our government clearly has very close ties with these. Let's figure out what the hell's going on with it. No, because the actual the mainstream corporate Republicans are also fucking in bed with that whole thing. So it's, hey, think micro, think Hunter Biden, don't think energy deals in Ukraine. Just don't even talk about that.
Nope, not at all. All right. At Jake Vevra on all the socials. His son can be found in front of Disney Plus. I can be found nathantimmel.com. And there you go. This is going to cut us off. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Later.